Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes we can finally escape this show. Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hello.
Hey. This week we are talking about Season 3, Episode 2. I don't know why I'm singing it, but I am. Here I am, having a good day. And the episode is called The Kids Are All Right. Offspring song, or is it older than that? Because that's the song I was thinking of.
There's another song, isn't it? No, I guess we're going with Offspring here. It's the right era, I guess, but I think it is an older song, maybe by the Rolling Stones or something. I'm wrong.
Yeah, more likely.
I know I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. This Season 3 is kind of, so far, you can see why things had to change. Let's just put it that way.
Ooh.
Like, this episode was okay, but, like, you know, again, I'm comparing it to Season 2's second episode, and, you know, it was just better. Like, there was... This one had a little bit of emotion in it, I guess, but not really, like, enough. I don't know. Like, for the situations that the situation that they're in, it is very much, it's in the back of their mind, but not really. I'm not sure how I feel about Season 3 so far. It's a little lackluster, in my opinion.
Missing those heady heights of Season 2, I think.
Yes. This was very much like, this episode wasn't particularly funny, but it also wasn't particularly story driven. The monster, I guess, was kind of like, the visual effects definitely getting up there.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody's nostalgic for, like, the look of Supernatural. Well, yes. I guess they changed it from here on out. I didn't realize it was so early that they changed it.
Yeah, I agree, actually. Like, this has all been much brighter and crisper and, like, less grainy. I think you're right. I think Season 3 was where it started to go. What's interesting is, and this is just my personal opinion on this, I think if we hadn't had the writer's strike and Season 3 ending where it ends, I fully think that Supernatural would have been cancelled after this season.
I think so too. There are definitely good. There's good episodes coming up, but for a season opener, I would like, if I was watching it at the time, I would have been a bit like, meh. Maybe I'll watch next week. Maybe I won't. We'll see.
Yeah, this is it. They're teasing bits of plotline, but it's not quite getting there yet. It's not ramping up just yet. I wonder when it would have done if this hadn't been a short season as well. This episode was written by Sarah Gamble, right? Who was it directed by?
Yes, Phil Sgrusha.
Of course. Overall, I think I liked it. I did actually quite enjoy it. I remember this episode very clearly. I've definitely watched this one more than once. Like, I definitely have seen this episode multiple times. Don't know why this specific episode. Maybe it's just one that's been on TV more. Like, you know, because they have Supernatural on Channel 4 in the UK. So sometimes you might catch old episodes and stuff. It's not been on for a little while now. And, like, if anyone's interested in, like, some fandom history on that, there was a whole campaign because they took Supernatural from the UK at one point, and there was a whole, like, fan campaign to get it back that actually worked. But we'll go into that some other time. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, I really remembered this one. I like Lisa and Ben, and yeah, I guess I'm starting the episode off. But I think let's start at the beginning and get into it.
We have a little bit of a recap, just the general, like, killing things montage, and the end of Season 2. That's the sort of the focus. And then there was a little bit of the previous episode, mainly Ruby's introduction, which we still don't know her name yet. It flashes to now, and we see a woman. She's waiting outside. What I assume was her husband, but then I realized it's an ex-husband, is dropping off their daughter, and the daughter is saying that there's monsters in his house and she doesn't want to go back. And then we go to the dad's, like, garage, and he's got, like, a little bit of a workshop, and he's building a rocking horse, which is kind of sweet.
Aww.
And as he leaves his, like, working area, his bandsaw turns on.
Yeah.
This little sequence, I was just like, dude, you do not have good safety. Because who bends down to look direct at that, like, this spinning saw?
Yeah, first of all, if it's on by itself, the saw's not where the problem is. Like, it's clearly in the electrics underneath, or, like, the saw is not the problem here. Like, why are you staring at eye level? It always made me think, I don't remember this, when we were at school, we had a woodwork teacher, when we were, like, older, and I did his class for, like, GCSEs, and he had half a thumb missing, and he was used to try
I
and
remember,
like tell he was used to try and tell us that it was because of the bandsaw that we had there. And eventually, when because I was in a very small class of his, there was only like 7 of us. He eventually told us that it wasn't true, and he'd lost the half of his thumb in a motorbike accident, but just but just told the kids that to scare them off putting their hands near sores. Like, yeah, fine.
And you know, the funny thing is, like, I remember that story. I vaguely remember the story, but I remember the feeling of it. Since then, I will not use power tools.
Oh, he's
Like,
traumatized you.
if I don't have to, someone else can. Like, I will hand saw a 2x4. Like,
Yeah.
I will not use. I will not be using one of those band saws. Thank you very much.
No, honestly.
Yeah, the dad then leaves again, and it turns on again. And like at that point, when you go to like the circuit breaker and just like turn off the power right there, rather than go back to the thing, stand right in front of it again, and then he gets like thrown onto the saw.
It was pretty grim. I was saying this the other day to somebody that like when there's really gruesome deaths in shows, like I just try and figure out how this was done, and this one must have done really like they must have had like a full blood pack on the front of this guy, and they're like spurting it out through his shirt, and yeah, it was grim and kind of cool.
Because like you have a kid in the house, wouldn't you have like a cover or something over it, or like
I mean,
tool safety?
Yeah, this guy, but yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, he dies a pretty gruesome death. We see the rocking horse that he was making, like rocking back and forth in a creepy ghost manner.
And then we have the title card, and so I paid attention this time to it. I mean, it's not awful, but I still don't like it.
Are you less mad at it this week?
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of seeing more of what they were trying to do. Like, there's the gates of hell, but meh. So we see Sam, and he's on the phone with Bobby, and he's trying to again research demon deals. He's talking about a translation of something.
Yeah.
Did you catch what the translation was supposed to be of?
No, like I paused on his computer screen and it looked like, I don't know what it looks like Sanskrit maybe. I'm not good at identifying written languages.
No, never mind. As he's on the phone, Dean knocks on the window outside the diner. Sam sort of tries to hurry up and end the conversation, shuts his laptop and ends the phone call. Dean asks him what he was doing. He says he's ordering pizza. Like, in the most unconvincing lie. It was so bad. Like, what? Because Dean obviously knows he was lying, because he's like, well, you know you're in a restaurant and you can just order something here. Yeah. And Sam's like, well, I felt like a pizza. And it's like, no, you didn't. Like, if anything, that should sort of clue Dean in, because I'm pretty sure Sam's not one for like just wanting pizza.
Yeah, I feel like Jared really got Sam's facial expressions down in this season. Like, I'm starting to see them like filter through like some of his like classic facial expressions. He did do some of them like in seasons 1 and 2. There's a lot of the like puppy dog eyes and like, you know, empathetic face and kind of like Sam's kind of bitchy face. But like here, Sam does this little thing, and I'm trying to do it like on camera, but you guys can't see me, where he kind of does a little like shake of his head. I can't quite describe it. It was just like he does that here as well, and I saw a lot of Sam in this episode, like just from later seasons. He's obviously keeping secrets. I mean, again, starting with secrets and lies, because him and Bobby are clearly researching this on the side. Dean last episode said that he would stop him from from breaking the deal at any cost because Sam would die, but Sam's still researching it. I mean, I think that's fair, you know. And also it's kind of good not to involve, I say it's good not to involve Dean in it, but like, I guess from Sam's point of view, if he does find any kind of leads, he doesn't want to give him any false hope at this point also, because Dean's made peace with this.
Yeah. I kind of appreciate what Sam is actually trying to do. Like, we know that Dean he did the deal because he wanted to be selfish. He didn't want to keep having to sacrifice everything for everybody, even though he did end up sacrificing his life. But here you can see that Sam is willing to give up his life so that Dean won't go to hell. I think that's his primary motivation, is to stop Dean from going to hell.
I think so too. I think it's obviously he doesn't want Dean to die, but I think the fact that he knows he's going to hell is actually the bigger issue here, because he even says that in his conversation with Bobby, like it wasn't like we have to stop Dean from dying, it was we have to stop Dean from going to hell. So yeah, that's a really good point, because Sam does believe in heaven. He does, like, we kind of know that from a previous episode, so he wouldn't want Dean to go to hell. Oh no, this makes me sad.
Well, and also they've seen like what happens to people who've made deals in the past, like they get torn apart by hellhounds. Like,
that's true.
He doesn't want to see that happen.
No. Wow, this is it.
I don't think Sam is being selfish at this point to try and get out of this deal for Dean. You know, whether that would actually work in the end, like maybe that was how season 3 was supposed to end. Like they were actually supposed to just go out together, and that would have been it.
Maybe. I think there is. Okay, I'll find it for when we do our wrap up. But I think there is somewhere Kripke talking about how they wanted season 3 to end. Actually, so I'll see if I can find that for some point.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair, in Sam as well for keeping the secret, I think there's a very big possibility that if they did find a way to, you know, break this deal, that Dean would just disappear and not be able to be found, you know? Like, he could probably do a runner and basically negate them trying to help him at all. Okay, so Dean has found a case, though, and says about this guy falling on his power saw or his bandsaw, but Sam's like, well, is that it? That sounds like a freak accident. And it kind of transpires that, yeah, it's maybe like a flimsy excuse, but Dean wants to go to Cicero, Indiana, because that's where Lisa Braden is. Sam doesn't know who she is, so Dean explains that about 8 years ago, Sam and John were on a case in Orlando, so they did go to Florida, hunting a banshee. And while they were doing that, Dean was supposed to be on a road trip, but actually spent most of his time living in Lisa's attic.
So on IMDb, they're very specific of how long ago it was. It was 8.75 years ago.
Oh my god.
When I saw, I was like, okay. It was 8 3/4. Like,
wow.
Not even like not even in the episode does it say like that exact. And also, wouldn't Dean have been like 18 or 19 years old at this point?
Hang on, let me do the math. No, like 21, right? He's 29 here now in season 3.
He is 29? Oh, okay. I thought he was 27 still. Or 28.
I mean, time is funny, but definitely at least a year has passed,
yeah.
So he must be either 28 or 29.
Yeah, who knows? So, okay, so he is a little bit older. That makes sense, because I was trying to figure out how old Lisa was supposed to be, but it doesn't really matter.
So he goes on to say about Lisa.
She was a yoga teacher. It was the busiest weekend of my life. Come on, have a heart. Huh? It's my dying wish.
Yeah, well, how many dying wishes are you gonna get?
As many as I can squeeze out.
I mean, I would milk it too, personally, but fine.
Yeah.
He calls her Gumby Girl. Now, I had to look this up because I don't know Gumby. I'm guessing it's an American thing. For our UK listeners, I did a Google, and it looks like Gumby is kind of like Morph. Do you remember Morph from Art Attack, like the little plasticine man? Kind of looks like it was that, which kind of makes sense, I guess, if Gumby's like stretchy or bendy. And he says,
right.
This must make me Pokey. And like Pokey is like Gumby's horse. And I read the like character description for this character on this children's TV show, and it's like, oh my god, this is Dean. Like, it says they're like cynical and sarcastic, and like well, like pessimistic about like the plans that they're doing and stuff. Anyway, it was weird, and I guess it's a good reference, but like, I don't know it. If one of our American listeners would like to explain Gumby to me, go ahead.
If you found it like funnier than we did, then I mean the fact that he was like, "Am I Pokey?" and it's a horse, I'm just like, okay, well, your ego talking, like.
Is that too much information?
So yeah, they leave the diner, and so you know, Sam acquiesces again.
Yeah,
because you know Dean gets every dying wish that he wants.
Yep.
And they arrive into town, and Sam like gets out of the car, probably expecting Dean to do the same, but like Dean starts to just basically to move away while Sam's still trying to get his bags out of the car and just like leaves it. This is, Yeah, you're right. This is very much like how I remember Sam, like the beginning of Sam, because I was
Yeah.
like, this is very much like I lost my shoe, which is exactly what happens in this season.
Yes, it is actually. Yeah, you're right. God, yeah.
Dean is driving into this gated community or like this subdivision area. The music that's playing, like the twangy kind of guitar and keyboard, I feel is like always Dean's sort of get it on music.
Don't wait up for me, Sammy.
Right? Like he's about to get into some sort of trouble, like by himself.
Yeah, this is true actually. Yeah, it's Dean. I don't know how to describe that. Like Dean shenanigans music.
Yeah, essentially. It was quite amusing. So this is the point when I realized aesthetic is completely different because the grass was so green.
Yeah.
That I was like, this looks very much like the gin dream.
So, do you think this was a visual choice because of the theme of this episode?
What, because it was a bunch of kids?
No, because this is...
Or the sort of the life you wish you could have had.
Yeah, this is something Dean can't have, right? So it's kind of framed as like all bright and colourful and like something that's maybe a fantasy rather than their own grim reality.
That could very well be. So the reason why I said the kids first is because it's very unusual for like children to be out and about late at night. So
That's
it
true.
makes more sense that everything would happen during the day. So that's how I'm kind of seeing it. But no, that's a good comparison to make. A horrible, heart-wrenching comparison to make, but good nonetheless.
So Dean knocks on this door and Lisa answers, and she does seem happy to see him.
Dean!
Lisa, how's it going?
Wow. So, how long's it been?
8, going on 9 years now. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
It is a little bit awkward, I think, the exchange they have, kind of stuff like, oh my god, it's you. But it's also quite genuine. I'm trying to think how I would feel if, like, someone I had only ever seen for one weekend 8 years ago turned up at my door like, hey, like, it's a weird thing to do.
Yeah. Did you catch that, like, when she says wow, her hair like blows out of her face a little bit?
That's amazing.
Yes. Like I was like, what? Like it was like the power of Dean Winchester moved her hair.
I mean,
like even if, you know, in some alternate reality I hooked up with a Dean Winchester-esque person 9 years ago,
yeah.
and they just showed up my door, I would be like, nope, goodbye. I don't
Yeah.
know who the hell you are.
I mean,
like it could have been the most amazing week of my life, but still I would have been like, no, I'm good.
I don't know who Lisa is or what. I mean, he says that she's a yoga teacher, but she must be making good yoga money because this is like a fancy neighborhood and she lives there by herself. And I assume she still lived there like in her early 20s, I guess too. So, I mean, go Lisa, like girl boss, like come on. I think Lisa has an appropriate reaction to it. I think she's kind of happy to see him. She clearly trusts Dean in some way, but is still a little bit wary of him. The fact that that she invites him into her child's birthday party is odd.
I wonder if it's more of this guy's not going to leave me alone, so I might as well just like allow him to just see what's going on and then hopefully he'll leave kind of thing.
I guess they can like catch up while all the kids are like distracted or whatever, you know, have some coffee, talk about what's happened in their lives, and then he can leave.
I love the fact that Dean didn't pick up on like what kind of party it was.
There were balloons outside, like he should have known. Like, Dean is very observant. There's a bit in this episode where you're like, oh, he really notices stuff, but he didn't notice that there were balloons outside Lisa's house. The sex blinkers were on, I think.
Yes, I think so too. Or do you mean blinders?
Yeah, blinkers are for horses. Okay.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
I mean, she does let him in though, and she says that it's, you know, for her son Ben, and we cut to this kid wearing a miniature Dean outfit, like jacket and all, shouting AC/DC rocks and like doing like the like devil horns
in a very much kid fashion, in that like they don't really know how to do it.
Yeah, it's so cute. To be fair, if I was Dean, I'd be like, oh my god, that's my kid.
But like, why though? What is it about like dressing the same way as quote unquote dad and like listening to the same music as dad would make it your kid? It's
Okay.
like,
I'm trying to think of my own like main personality traits that would be like passed down to a kid. But I guess Ben kind of does look like Dean in just like he has the same haircut and he's a kid, and also like the same tastes in stuff, obviously, where it looks like Lisa doesn't really have, from what we see of her, doesn't look like she really has those tastes. So I would probably maybe dispute that. So like, where else did he get them from in this suburban neighborhood other than his genetic love for Led Zeppelin, I guess?
Yeah, it's like, I was just like, that wouldn't convince me. And like, I mean, especially when you find out the parentage as well of Ben, it's just like,
he got the
I don't know.
rock gene. So of course Dean does ask how old Ben is because he has the thought. Lisa says that he's 8, which does line up with their bendy weekend. But she's just like, yeah, whatever. And I think this is a bit bad on Lisa's part, because surely at this point, when he's asked that question of how old Ben is, and like thought 8 years, like, oh wait, is Dean thinking this? I never told him. Like, you think she would address it then and there, but she just like walks off like, bye.
Well, like, she doesn't have to do anything. Like, he just showed up.
But that's true.
So like, let him panic. Let him think that he owes 8 years of child support. Like,
yeah, but like, it's on her if she never told him. Like, how's he supposed to know?
I mean, do you think he left any contact information for her or anything like that?
Okay, that's
I doubt
a good
it.
point.
He probably just rolled in and rolled out.
That's a good point, to be fair. This is both their faults.
I mean, she's obviously doing well for herself, like you said. So like, if she's happy and doesn't need a man, then she doesn't need to. I mean, so I say the child support thing out of joke because I don't, from her characterization, I wouldn't imagine that's what she would do.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, yeah, I'm surprised she didn't kind of think he was having the thought and just like set him straight there and then. So,
but if she had done that, the rest of the episode wouldn't have been what it was, though, would it?
No, I know it's done for storytelling reasons, but in real life it doesn't work. I like the way Dean kind of just stares at Ben as she walks off like, oh no. So Dean walks up to get a slice of cake or some food or something. It's like a race car cake, again showing some similarities between Ben and Dean because Ben's clearly into cars. There are 2 women talking about Dean behind his back, and they're like, did you hear what Lisa called him? This is the best night of my life, Dean, like that she's been talking about. Like, so she's clearly been bragging about him. Dean kind of turns around, they kind of exchange greetings, and they do that thing that like women do in TV where they're like, hi. I just like it so much.
It gave me Diet Dr. Pepper, Diet Coke vibes from like the 90s and like early 2000s.
Yeah. The like objectification of men in those
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what adverts we're talking about. Yeah. God, you can never get away with that. Oh no, I would say you couldn't get away with that with doing that to women, but no, you totally have for a very long time. So I mean, it's just turning those tables, right?
I feel like in those Coke commercials, it's still like very much male dominated. He doesn't feel so objectified by these women staring at him.
Yeah, those adverts are not for they are for women. Well, they're supposed to be for women. But what it actually is like, well, imagine if I could sexually drink this Coke and women would be all over me like, oh my god. Right.
Yes. Well, so I feel like there's 2 versions. There was like the guy drinking the Coke and then like them having to drink it to cool themselves down.
Oh
he's
yeah,
so hot.
that's true. There's so much Coke drinking. Supernatural at its core is kind of a male fantasy, right? And like, what guy doesn't think like, I could just rock up to this random house and all the women there would be like, oh my god, who is he? Like, I heard he's amazing at sex, guys.
Like, nobody talks like that in front of the person. Like, nobody does. And what I think is really funny is that it's obviously a female gaze in this shot, and it's like looking at his ass, but like the jeans cover everything, so it's just like,
Well, when you doing? Like, his clothes are so baggy. This is not a female gaze thing. Like, no one would be looking at Dean's ass in those jeans. Like, they're just anyway.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on. Dean approaches Ben, who's like watching the bouncy castle or bounce house. Yeah, so I remember this part of this episode and thinking, that's so amazing that they have like a bouncy castle in their back garden. Turns out it's actually a really common and really cheap thing to do. My nephew, for his last 2 birthdays, has had bounce houses / water slides.
Yeah. When I was really little, my little brother really wanted a bouncy castle, and like I really wanted one too. My brother's birthday's in the winter, and mine's in the summer, so my mum's agreed to get one for my birthday. But where we lived, like the garden was so small that once we put it outside, the bouncy castle went literally to the back door. So you like opened the back door and you step straight on. Like,
that's amazing.
Castle. So we're just standing in the door, like throwing ourselves out of the door, like onto this. I have a very clear memory of it. I must have been like at this age, actually, like 7 or 8. Yeah, best birthday ever.
That's amazing. So they're looking at the bounce house, and like this mum and the daughter walk by, and they both like check. I'm not sure who. So obviously Dean's checking out the mother, but like, is Ben checking out the mother too, or the girl, the little girl?
I think it's supposed to be the younger girl, because he makes a comment about hot chicks on the bouncy castle. Like, what child speaks like this? It was a bit of a weird moment. It's only there to show that he's mirroring Dean, because they both kind of check these people out and then like eat their cake at the same time. It's very like, the mirroring is very cute. I quite appreciated that. He talks like Dean. He says stuff like sweet and epic, and yeah, I said hot chick city. And like Ben kind of runs off, and you kind of hear him shouting. And there's one point right at the end of the scene where Ben shouts yeehaw. Like, I just put Dean.exe stops working, and he just sort of like falls down the steps. I think it was the yeehaw. I can't do it. Yeehaw that got him, right? That was the bit.
I think
where
so
he was
too.
like, oh crap, this is my son.
I wonder if it was partly a mistake and partly like he was just kind of going with it, because the way he came down those steps looked like he fell.
Yeah, it did look like he fell.
So I wonder if it was like just enough that they could keep it in, but it was actually like he was just supposed to walk away, like, because he also he hits like a trash can, like a rubbish bin, falls down these steps, but like kind of semi-gracefully, like he's kind of skimmed down them. I don't know. It feels like something you wouldn't be able to do on purpose.
Yeah, if it was acting, it was very good acting.
So we cut to Lisa, and she's talking with the mother from the beginning of the episode. Did she ever say what that woman's name is?
She didn't, but I watched Supernatural with the subtitles on, and it named her. Her name is Dana.
Okay, so I'll call her Dana from now on then. So they're having a conversation, and Dana's kind of concerned about Katie, which is her daughter. And then she says, she's not the same. She's like somebody else. I don't know who she is. Yeah. And Katie's kind of just standing there, like looking around. Lisa says something which I don't think is necessarily insensitive, but it's definitely like probably not the best thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause she's like, oh, you can't say that about your kid. Of course she's your daughter. Like, how dare you say that? And that obviously upsets Dana, and then they decide to leave.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. She's just, her ex-husband or whatever he was to her has just died, so I guess it makes sense for Lisa to think that. So she thinks that she's like, grieving for him, but she obviously has kind of some bigger concerns going on. Dean walks in and he asks, he's there to ask about Ben, essentially.
He dances around it. Like, he doesn't want to come out and say it. He's just like, so.
Hey, so I met Ben. Cool kid. Yeah. I couldn't help but notice that he's turning 8. You and me,
You're not trying to ask me if he's yours.
No, of course not. He's not, is he?
What? No.
Right.
Lisa kind of laughs and like laughs it off and is like, no, he's not yours. Like, it's fine.
Again, let him panic. I think that's hilarious.
I mean, they must have ended on good terms for her to welcome him back in like this. It's kind of cruel in a way. I guess for her, it's because she knows that it's so far outside the realm of possibility that like Dean could be Ben's dad. It's like, no, of course not. So Dana and Katie kind of walk past them as they're having this conversation, and Lisa kind of says that she was the, her ex had that problem with the power saw because Dean asks what's up with them. Lisa kind of alludes to the fact there's been a lot of bad luck in their neighborhood lately.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's other things going on. What a surprise.
Oh no. And then we are back with Sam, which honestly I forgot he was in this episode. Because it's like he's had very little to say so far in this episode. He's back to researching like his demon stuff. Like he's not really anything to do with this case because he doesn't think there's a case here, and by all accounts there isn't one. And Ruby just sort of sits down and closes his laptop and takes a chip or a fry.
So when she sits down, she says, "Hello, Sam," and I was like, "Oh."
Okay, I wrote that down too. Is she the first one to say it like that? Because I thought it was Meg. I thought Meg was the first one to do that. But honestly, I couldn't remember. I don't really remember it being that clear in season 1.
Oh, yeah. I feel like Meg... Oh, I need to go back now and find out. I feel like Meg does it. Maybe she says, "Hello, boys." Maybe I'm imagining that, though. It was pointed enough that I wrote it down when Ruby said it. So I'm going to say for now, Ruby started this, but may come back and decide later that it was Meg.
Because it is very much a demon's introduction that becomes like, that's just what you do. Like when you're a demon and you have to talk to the Winchesters, it's hello, whoever I'm talking to.
Not just demons though. Because Cass does it too. Whenever he turns up, it's true. "Hello, Dean."
Oh, I love that. All supernatural. Well, I was gonna say all supernatural beings do it, but I think it's the ones who are aware of who they are.
Yeah, it's the
and have multiple interactions with them.
Absolutely, they're friends, you might say. I guess, or
yeah.
Well, not
frenemies, maybe.
Yeah, frenemies. I think frenemies is a good word here for Ruby.
And Crowley and Rowena.
And sometimes Cass, like I was saying, sometimes.
Definitely. Sam points out that Ruby's been following him since Lincoln, and I didn't remember Ruby being so sarcastic because she says nothing gets by you. It's like, oh, a little sass there. Honestly, I don't remember much of Ruby's personality. She's really short-lived.
I did remember this. I remember her being sarcastic, especially this iteration of Ruby, like Ruby 1.1, 1.0, definitely being sarcastic and like very much mirroring their humor. And you find this actually with demons and other kind of hunters that end up helping them, and all people who come into their circle end up being quite snarky and like sarcastic often. I partly think that's like Winchester influence, and also that's how the writers know we like our characters, so they write them that way.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on that one.
It's nice here for Ruby because Jo is the only other character that's really been like this kind of, I guess she's quite snarky as well, especially in No Exit where she gets to like hunt with them. Like we kind of see that come through, and I would say that Ruby's attitude here is kind of similar to Jo's, but like turned up a bit more. It's different, but it's not markedly different actually if you do compare the two.
So I would say like Ruby's is like Jo if Jo had more experience / confidence.
Yes.
Like Jo has a lot of confidence in herself, but Ruby is just that more it's not self-reliant, but like not self-aware. she knows her worth.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's interesting that they do write all their characters like this, and like when you do kind of compare the women, sometimes I feel like they can be a little bit similar in how they speak often, with like how they kind of make fun of Sam and Dean and like get back at them. But I'm not necessarily mad at it. It's just sort of an observation. I noticed here. So she steals a chip. She's like, "Oh, these are really good." She tries to get him to eat it, and I'm like, this was the first time she tried to make him do something. Just the small temptations, the small ones. That's how they start. Eat this chip.
It always starts off small.
Mm-hmm.
It always starts off small. Sam is obviously very irritated because he's hammering her with questions, but she doesn't really give any straight answers.
No.
Why are you following me?
I'm interested in you.
Why?
Because you're tall. I love a tall man. And then there's the whole Antichrist thing.
She brings up the fact that he's the Antichrist, and this is the first time he's been given a name like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Because all this time he's been called like a special child.
I think Ruby is our gateway, or I guess our path from the season 1 and 2 meta into the rest of the meta for the show. She kind of gives that connection there, because some of the stuff she says here, I'm like, oh, okay, that's how they're connected. That's how they're trying to explain how that connects to that, right? Because I did wonder how they got from, Yellow Eyes to Lucifer. Like, I couldn't remember the pipeline. So I think Ruby is the conduit. She's claiming here to be a hunter, which makes sense. Like, it would make sense for her to be a hunter because she has that special knife, and came in and like killed loads of demons.
She also brings up Mary and the fact that all her friends had died. Sam's like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this. Ruby gives him a number to call after he's researched it and like sort of basically, I'm going to prove that I'm right and that you can trust me with information, or I can trust you with information.
I mean, she's a little bit flirty about it because she writes her number on his hand. Like, she takes his hand and like writes her number on his palm.
I do wonder if like Meg is in the back of his mind, because a lot of this is very similar to how Meg was. Like, Meg wasn't quite as forward in the beginning. She was definitely like, she led him on a little bit, was trying to convince him to like get away from Dean and all that kind of stuff. I do feel like he doesn't trust a random woman just coming up.
Yes. Well, especially one who's been following him and like clearly is like knows their universe and their world and everything. I'm not surprised he is extremely suspicious of her.
She also says that there is actually a case in this town. And then Dean calls him and confirms it. So we cut back to Dana. She's just sort of waking up for a nap, and her daughter is doing that creepy kid thing and being sat like right next to her as she wakes up. I have to say, Katie's acting in this, like the girl who played Katie's acting, is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
For being a child, like she got it down pretty well, like this creepy kid vibe, and being able to like keep that sort of blank expression.
Yeah.
She's never particularly happy and she's never particularly sad. So they go into the kitchen and Dana sees the reflection of Katie, and her face is like, looks like the Dune worm. I just watched Dune. So it looks exactly like that. Like her mouth is all like teeth and circles and eyes.
Yeah, it looks like a lamprey. Have you ever seen a lamprey? It's like a weird fish eel thing, and it has that sucker, and it does, like, if you're swimming you can get a lamprey like bite you, and it leaves a bite that's circular like that. Look up lampreys, they're super gross.
It's almost like a leech, right?
Yeah, but like bigger. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's gross. And she also sees like the skin's all like messed up too, like she's been like sitting in water for forever. Maybe that's what what it's supposed to be like as well. Then it cuts to Sam, and he's in another woman's house, like another victim's house, and he's an insurance agent, but he has like this ugly tie. Like to me it looks like a McDonald's tie, because it's like yellow and red.
Yeah, it's
like
not
patchwork.
great.
I don't know why that that stuck out to me when it did. He's looking at this ladder, and then he notices this kid, or their kid, in the window, and like this blood stain. So he knows something's up. And he also notices a mark on the back of the woman's neck.
Yeah. I have things to say about that in a minute, but I'll wait.
What's that?
The mark on her neck. Okay, all right, I'll do it now. It's on her shoulder, right? It's on her shoulder blade. Like, it's not in the middle of her neck. No?
Mm-hmm.
Later on, when they find out what these things are, they say that it drinks cerebrospinal fluid. How's it getting that from the back, like from her shoulder? It should have been directly on the back of her neck.
Well, they have really long, spindly teeth that can move.
No, why would you say that? Why?
Because I wanted to put that disgusting image that you just brought into my mind to your mind.
Disgusting.
You're welcome.
No.
So we're back with Dana, and she's making a grilled cheese. And she's touching the back of her neck too. She obviously feels this mark. She then goes to the bathroom to go check it out, and like Casey's there banging on the door, being a creepy child, like, "Mommy, let me in." It's like separation anxiety a bit much. Isn't
I know, my god.
But then there's someone rings on the doorbell, so the banging stops, and the kid did what you're not supposed to do, is answer the door to a stranger. Like, you don't do that. Even as an adult, I still don't answer my door.
I wish I didn't. We've had so many weird callers lately. Just odd ones.
The kid answers the door, and it's the red-headed woman from the party, and she's sales rep, and she's asking about what she's going to do with the ex-husband's house, whether they're going to sell it or not. And like, Dana's like, this is not the time, and just shuts the door in her face, which is, fair. Dean has just, I'm not sure where Dean has just left from, but he's walking to his car, and he spots Ben, and he's sat on a bench in a park, and he goes to sort of find out what's going on. Ben looks upset because his Nintendo DS, which I have the exact same version, I must say, has been like, he lent it to another kid, and now the kid won't give it back. And like, so the kid's name's Humphreys, and Dean says, "Is Humphreys the kid who should be laying off the burgers?" I'm like, Dean, you, sir, in the last episode just ate this disgusting greasy burger for breakfast. Like, you cannot say anything.
Just because you've got a fast metabolism doesn't mean your diet is good. Like, come on, man. Like, seriously.
Dean offers to go talk to Humphreys, and Ben says, "No, only bitches send in grown-ups." And again, it's not something that like an 8-year-old would say, but like in that way, like, the sentiment, yes, but like
not that way.
You wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. And like, Dean looks impressed.
I put the same
he's
thing.
Like, yeah, you're right, bitches.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Okay, right. It then cuts to Humphrey's group of friends, and they're all like surrounding this game, which I don't know what they're playing, because they're energetically like pushing buttons. Maybe it's like a side scroller or something.
Yeah.
Ben politely asks for his DS back, and the kid's like, no, being he's being a bully.
Yeah.
And then Ben knees him in the boy parts. Yeah. Twice.
Yep.
And takes the game back, and returns to Dean, who's, I feel like if it was anywhere else, he probably would have given him like a huge thumbs up.
I mean, he does as he walks up to them, right? He looks back at Dean, he gives him a thumbs up then. And then when he walks back to Dean, he high-fives him. I love this because as like Ben is kind of hitting the bully, Dean looks around to see if there are like any other adults, I guess, and then sort of is like like laughing to himself. It's so bad. Like,
yeah.
I mean, at this point in Dean's life, this is the lesson that he's going to teach a kid. I feel like it would be different later on. I think I'm not actually sure that's true. I don't know if he ever matures in this way.
Well, I don't think it's a case of maturity. I think it's a case of like, because they're always talking about like standing up for themselves and like beating these monsters. So if the monster is a human, then you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, okay.
as a child, you cannot kill another child, but you can definitely kick them. And then Lisa yells, Benjamin Isaac Braden. I was like, oh, someone's in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had either of my parents like yell up my full name at me. Ever.
Oh, I have, and my full name is long. I have it's long, so yeah. My brother's is longer. I'm trying to think how many syllables it is. Hang on, 14 syllables, I think. My brother's full name.
Oh my god,
that's a full like you're in trouble. Oh my god, you're in trouble. Like if someone's taken that much effort to say your full name,
it got me thinking. Do we know what Dean's middle name is?
Does he have a middle name? I was about to say Jensen's middle name, so I know Jensen's middle name for some reason. I don't know if they have middle names. This is quite disturbing to me, and I don't know why.
Because this is horrible, but they don't ever have like gravestones, so it wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But then again, Mary didn't have one either. On her gravestone, it just says Mary Winchester.
Yeah. I feel like they definitely would have referred to it at one point. Like, it would have been a joke. Like, suddenly Dean introduced himself as, like, D.S. Winchester or something. And everyone's like, S? Where does this come from? Like, Dean Henry Winchester would have made sense, right? Because that's his other granddad's name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
who knows?
Who knows?
What do you think Sam's Dean, like baby Dean?
Sam Mary Winchester? Just like, is it, what's his name? Oh my god, where's it going?
No, what I'm talking about is 1520, that Dean, baby Dean.
No, why would you put, no, that kid doesn't exist because that episode didn't happen. So, yeah,
agreed.
No. Yeah, no, like Jeff Goldblum, I think Jeff Goldblum's middle name is Mary. Oh yeah, so Dean's in trouble with Lisa. He is in trouble. Mm-hmm. She is like, she kind of grabs him and drags him away from Ben. Is like, what are you even doing here? And she kind of brings up what I've been saying, like, we had a weekend a million years ago and now you're just kind of like hanging around. And she says to just leave them alone. And you can see that, like, Dean's face is, like, really hurt, I think, by this. Lisa's obviously someone that he's kind of carried a torch for over the years, right? He still remembers her from all the other kind of one-night stands and, like, short relationships that he's obviously had over the years. Lisa seems to have stuck in his mind for some reason. So I think he was kind of almost expecting to, I don't know, just hook up with her again and pick up where they left off. People don't work like that.
I guess he was hoping what happened with Cassie might happen with Lisa. Because that's exactly what happens in that episode. Yeah,
that's true, actually. It must be weird for Dean because he has all these, like, you know, this idea of these people that he's kind of formed connections with, and to him they just mean, like, frozen in time. And when he went back to see Cassie, it kind of proved true. She was still living in the same town, like, basically living the same life, and kind of almost like she was, you know, stuck in time waiting for him almost. Whereas Lisa's obviously moved on and, like, has a life and things have happened to her since she met Dean.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, Lisa is still in the same town. Like, she didn't leave.
Yeah, that's true.
So she, and again, we don't really know what her occupation is. Whereas with Cassie, we knew that she had become a journalist.
Yeah, that's true.
So in terms of, like, women in Supernatural, Cassie actually got a decent, like, story behind her, like, character.
That's true. That's actually very true.
She was more than just a name and a love interest.
Yeah.
She was a journalist.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think with the thing is that, I think you're right. I think with Lisa, he expected to just turn up and it kind of be like Cassie, like they kind of have their fun and he moves on again. But obviously with the introduction of Ben, it brings up a whole nother level of, like, the life he could have kind of thing, which I think has massively thrown him off kilter in this episode, which is why his emotions are so, they seem a little bit all over the place, you know? He goes from sort of, like, quite happy and, like, he seems really hurt here and, like, I don't know. Yeah. I feel like Dean's going through a lot here.
She also says something here that, like, because he is essentially a parent to Sam.
Did you tell my son to beat up that kid?
What? Well, somebody had to teach him how to kick the bully in the nads.
Who asked you to teach him anything?
Just relax.
What are you even still doing here? We had one weekend together a million years ago. You don't know me. You have no business with my son.
Lisa.
Just leave us alone.
Lisa says, I don't want you teaching him anything. Like, you're not his father. Don't try to teach him anything.
Yeah.
Which I think it's in Dean's nature at this point to want to teach people things.
Yeah. And it's also kind of implying that he's maybe a bad influence as well. Where, like, I don't think Dean would think he was a bad influence at this point. I do think he is proud of himself for how he's parented Sam, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too. As they start to walk away, Ben sort of breaks away from Lisa and comes back to Dean and gives him a huge hug, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah.
As Ben and Lisa walk away, there's these 3 kids standing in a line, looking at them, and then turns to look at Dean. One kid, the blonde kid at the end of this line, like, I think it's kind of like going in height order, so I think it's the shortest kid. He is acting so hard.
Oh, bless.
So funny. If there's a gif out there of that, like, someone please send it, because it's hilarious.
Love that.
Like, his mouth is really pursed and like, I'm gonna stare at you kind of thing. Like, aw.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, so we see Dana, and she is in the evening / nighttime, and she's strapping Katie into the car. She looks in the rearview mirror and sees, like, the messed up face again of this creature, and she drives to a lake, just lets the car go into the lake with Katie in the background. Like, this monster just sort of sits there, doesn't really do anything, doesn't cry, doesn't make a noise or anything. And then she returns home, and Casey's there, and she just asks, so she's been asking for ice cream. Yeah. She's back at the sort of breakfast bar, soaking wet, and just asks for ice cream.
Yeah, very creepy.
So we're then back in the motel, and Sam is researching changelings. We find out that's what they are.
Something's wrong with the kids in this town.
Yeah, tell me about it. So, what do you know about changelings?
Evil monster babies?
No, not necessarily babies.
Like, do you think it's just Dean thinking it's weird kids, as in, like, these bullies, and the kids that were staring at him, not knowing that it was actually changelings? Like, he's just making a comment that kids are weird in the town, rather than, like, these kids are supernatural kids. Because obviously he doesn't know what are causing the accidents at this point. He just knows that there are accidents that are happening here.
Yeah, I don't know. They are being weird.
It's a loaded statement, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. So they find out that, like, so Sam's done all the research. He knows everything already. So changelings basically grab kids and assume their form. We kind of knew that changelings are related to, like, fairy mythology. It used to be that they would take babies and in their place either leave fairies, like goblins, or sometimes it was like pieces of wood, which is kind of weird. But they said that this isn't just babies, this seems to be children as well, and they feed on the mother's cerebrospinal fluid, which will eventually kill them. And anyone who gets in the way of that is being killed off. So it's like, I think they said it's like babysitters, partners, like, yeah, anybody who gets in the way. And that fire is the only way to kill them.
And fire's the only way to waste them?
Yep.
Great. Well, we'll just bust in, drag the kids out, torch them on the front lawn. That'll play great with the neighbors.
Can you imagine if they got the wrong kid too?
Oh, like, I know. It's horrible. But Sam does say that they probably, that in the law it says that they do stash the kids they took underground, so they're probably all still safe. So their main concern should be finding those kids to save them, essentially. Dean realizes that, you know, any kid in the neighborhood may be taken by a changeling, clearly is concerned about Ben, and says that we have to check on them. And Sam even says, like, but we need to go find these other kids. But Dean's like, well, no, this is important. We have to go do this first. So he's kind of putting Ben, and I guess Lisa, but I got from this that this was more focused on Ben rather than Lisa.
I think so too. Yeah,
that he needed to save him above any other kids in the neighborhood, which is already like, you're not, you know, if you're not his dad, Dean, why do you care so much? Kind of. That's very much a parenting thing, right? You would put your kid before any other kids that are possibly hidden underground somewhere.
Definitely. So he turns up to Lisa's house and he says, you know, this is a perfect time to go to Six Flags.
Yeah.
You're here, take, you know, I didn't get him a birthday present, so here, take my card and go, and Lisa checks the card because you would.
Yeah, you would.
And I didn't catch the first name, but the last name was Houdini, and he was like, "Is this you? Like, what is this?"
Yeah.
I noticed that she doesn't give the card back though.
This is how,
I think it's just
this is how Lisa made her money. This random credit cards from men, I guess.
Yeah. And she says, leave us alone, and shuts the door in his face.
Mm-hmm.
Dean sort of hangs around, sort of check on the house, and sees Ben in the window. So Ben sort of interrupts them.
Yeah.
And says, I'm hungry or something like that, and make him go away. And so Lisa's like, you heard him, leave.
Yeah.
Which that should be a clear indication to Dean that something's not right, because, 2 scenes earlier, Ben was hugging him.
Yeah.
So he checks the house and he sees Ben just sort of staring at Lisa, and then he notices like some blood on the floor and on the windowsill, so in the same sort of spots that Sam had noticed in the other house. They figured that, Ben has also been taken at this point. Didn't catch how they found out or figured out that the house, where the kids were taken, was a house under construction. Like there was something that Sam said, but I didn't see what it was that he was pointing at.
So it was Dean that figured it out, because he saw the marks on Ben's window and they weren't actually blood. They were red dirt. He did a very like Sherlock Holmes thing on this. It was like, this dirt is from a very specific location that he remembers having seen before, which was at the construction site. So it was all Dean. This is what I said about him being observant. Like, he managed to notice that there was like a specific dirt by this building site, but didn't notice there were balloons outside a child's birthday party.
So I wonder if he becomes more observant when there's like a case and like,
yes.
But when it's just like everyday life, he's just like, whatever, I'll just go through life.
Well, you'd have to turn it down, right? Surely you can't notice everything all the time. That would be exhausting.
Yeah, exactly. He sends Sam through the front of the house, and Dean's going to go through the back. Dean finds some cages with some kids in, starts letting them out. I think Ben is the first one he finds, actually.
Yeah, he is, because Ben helps him out, really. Like, he lets Ben out, and then from then on, in all these scenes, like, Ben is like his super little helper. Like, he's just a little mini Dean. Like, it's so cute. It's like helping the other kids. I love it. It's very nice.
Yeah, it was quite sweet. It was very sweet. And then Sam's confronted by the realtor, who turns out to be like a mother changeling. Mm-hmm. They start to fight a little bit, and he like does the flamethrower, but she manages to like escape.
Yes, exactly.
Like, Dean starts to get all of these kids out, and some reason they can't go through the back door. I'm not entirely sure why. But he breaks a window. He is actually really good with kids, because he's like, okay, cover your eyes, because he goes to smash the window so that, there's no pieces of glass that goes in their eyes. And then Ben offers his jacket to like stop the broken glass from getting like cutting the kids. So it's like, oh,
it's super cute. Like, he's. Yeah, again, like, you're seeing so many of like Dean's characteristics in Ben here, like, the helpfulness, and as Dean kind of tries to get all these kids through the window, Ben's like pushing other kids ahead of him to like go through first. Where did you learn this, child, if it's not genetic? Because Lisa's either like a really great mum, I mean, I'm guessing that she really, really is, because this kid seems amazing, or the Winchester genetics are very strong. And we'll talk at the end about whether or not we think that Ben is Dean's kid.
The next few scenes is again like the typical sort of supernatural fight sequence, so it's splitting between 2 scenes.
Like, as they're getting these kids out, like the real estate changeling mom turns up, right? And this is what I was saying about Dean always fighting the women, because it starts off and Sam is fighting her, but she just beats the crap out of him very quickly and just like throws him, and that's like the end of Sam for most of the scene. And it's Dean who kind of he gets his ass kicked pretty quickly as well, but he manages to kind of bounce back and does the whole fight scene with her, while Ben's getting the other kids out. Like, I don't know, Sam's being out on the floor. Like, I love this.
Was Sam strategically playing dead?
I think so, yeah. I do like, there was one move, so like Dean kicks her through a wall, which I think is quite, I don't feel like we ever see Sam kicking people. It may be because of his height. Dean is a kicker, right? He does throw a good punch, but we do see him kicking a lot of people, I feel.
I think so too, yeah.
As obviously, when he manages to kick her through this wall, it takes her a moment to get back up again. And when she does, Sam is actually standing over her with Dean behind him, and she gets toasted.
Yes. What's happening somewhere else is the changeling Ben is kind of being creepy towards Lisa, and then Lisa sees his reflection, tries to run outside, but there's 3 other changelings out there, comes back in, just sort of seems to give up because she just sits on the floor.
Yeah, I know. what are you doing?
And yeah. And then once the mother had been, and also we also see Dana and Katie, and Katie's again banging on the door like, let me in kind of stuff. Once the mother's been torched, all the kids go up too.
Yeah. Because, and I had to think about this, they did it like this, so Sam and Dean didn't have to systematically go and like burn children in their houses, that it had to be like the mother dies and they all die. They didn't, I think it was a good choice on the writers not to show that, because that would have been very horrific and out of the tone of Supernatural.
I guess because there was too many kids, because if you think about it, there's like probably like 10 kids that they would have to like individually go try kill. Like they've killed like child ghosts, like I think of Providence. Again, I mean that ghost was pretty creepy looking. So I guess they changed the lore a little bit on changelings so that they could do that.
I think so. Do you think that changelings are fairies in this universe? Because we kind of know that fairies exist in Supernatural. So maybe they are fae. Just a thought.
Yeah. It's the next morning they drop off Ben. I'm assuming they dropped off all the kids at the various houses, because I'm pretty sure all of those parents are going to be super confused why their child just went up in smoke.
I know. What the hell?
So, well, I mean, okay. I was going to say, why are there so many kids? But of course, we've only seen 3 houses, and each one of those women only had 1 child. But it could very be that the other people had maybe more than 1 child.
That's true.
In the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we only know of 4 accidents, so it doesn't make sense that there's so many kids, but that's
true.
a way to explain it. So they probably dropped off all the other kids back at home. Can you imagine that conversation though? I can't.
I like to think they just drop the kids on the porch and be like, knock on the door and tell your mum that what happened, and then they just drive off and like never see it again. And the kids would be like, well, some men saved us from a basement in a black shiny car, and then that's all they would ever know. So my goodness, scary stuff. Like honestly, to be fair, they don't stick around long here, do they? So, I'll bring this up later seasons, but when Dean goes back, well, there are not loads of kids in the neighborhood like, that was the man that saved me from the basement. So
didn't they move though after this episode? After what happened?
Yeah, I think they did. That explains that then, because I was thinking like when he does go back, all these kids in the neighborhood would have been like, that was the man that took us from the basement.
It's definitely an awkward conversation to have, because they didn't like call the police or anything. They just like
they just dropped their kids like newspapers at the door, like, bye.
Yeah, exactly. So they get to Ben's house and they let him out. Dean goes into the house with Ben. For some reason, Ben is now listening to like his, I guess because it's his birthday present, but he's listening to a CD. They have a conversation, and here is where Lisa confirms that Ben is in fact not his child.
Okay, seriously, I mean, you're 100% sure that he is not mine, right?
You're off the hook. I did a blood test when he was a baby.
Oh.
There was this guy, some barback in a biker joint. What? I had a type. Leather jacket, couple of scars. No mailing address, I was there. Guess that was a little while back then. Before I became a mom. So yeah, you can relax.
Dean looks disappointed.
He does. I mean, yeah. Okay. It kind of makes sense. Lisa says that she had a type at the time that, Ben was conceived. I guess if you're talking about genetic traits of rock music and jackets, like, fine, I guess that pans out. Do you okay, though, question. Do you think that she's telling the truth?
What would be the point in lying to Dean? That's my question. Or is she lying to herself as well?
This is my take on it. I like the idea that Ben is Dean's son, so I'm going to make this fit my own narrative because I quite like the idea of it, and I think also there needs to be some consequences for Dean at some point of his like lifestyle, and I think this was a good one for Lisa. If Lisa was seeing a lot of people like Dean at this time, which like it sounds like what she's saying, it's probably true that, you know, these people were kind of drifting in and out of town, like unattached and not really, I would say, father material necessarily. So maybe she decided at the time like that she was always going to be a single mum, which is absolutely fine, and that if any of these guys ever came around, she would just say that it was another one of the guys that she was seeing, because this is very non-specific, like, oh yeah, he was just a biker guy, like, you know, completely the same type as you, and like you could say that to anyone who came around and thought that Ben was their son, right? Oh yeah, it was just a different person, like I confirmed it, it's fine. Because maybe, you know, she just decided that she was always going to be just a single parent, and that she, you know, that none of the people that she was seeing at the time were stick around types, so it'd be less painful for Ben in the end if they didn't have a confirmation one way or the other of anybody. Because like, also, what would have happened here if she had said that Ben was Dean's son? Like, I don't know what would have happened, because I don't think he would have stuck around still.
No.
Like, I think he would have like been in Ben's life, like in and out of it, but it wouldn't have been like a consistent thing. I feel like Lisa knows that also. Yeah,
and I think, you know, so Dean also says here, you know, my lifestyle wouldn't have been able to, is not stable. He does sort of start to question his legacy, like what he would, that was the reason why he was disappointed. Like, what would he leave behind, you know, once his year is up? But he doesn't say that, but that's essentially what he's saying.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, you know, your life, I mean, this house, a kid, it's not my life. Never will be. Some stuff happened to me recently, and anyway, a guy in my situation, you start to think, you know, I'm gonna be gone one day, and what am I leaving behind besides a car?
But, you know, the thing that Lisa says here is something that I think they forget often, because she says, Ben might not be your kid, but he wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for you.
Yeah, so nice.
And I do think I do think they forget the legacy that they leave behind with people that they've saved.
Absolutely. That's so true. That's so true. Because, I mean, the line that got me here, and I underlined it with a swear word, was that Dean says these exact words, like, what am I leaving behind besides a car? And you're right. I didn't really see, I was too wrapped up in that line to see what Lisa was saying, but you're right, that their legacy is all the people that they saved. The unfortunate thing about it is also that Dean doesn't see it that way, and also I can't say it, all he leaves behind is his car.
He does, yeah.
Oh, and his watch. Sam's wearing his watch as well. 1520.
The thing is, you also have to make peace with that as well. Like, if you feel like that's all you're gonna leave behind, then be okay that that's the only thing you're gonna leave behind.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I mean, I guess they do kind of accept that, and I feel like this is the beginning of that acceptance. Obviously, it gets questioned throughout the series, even, especially since, you know, he comes back to them. I don't know, like, I feel like the whole gin thing would have triggered something in his mind of like, actually, yeah, because, you know, when he was looking at the news, all of the people that they saved all died.
Yeah.
So he then doesn't have a legacy. I mean, he has a family legacy in that dream, but like, that was unfulfilling for him.
But this is it, isn't it? This is the choice for Dean, and that's what is and what should never be brought up, is like, the choice for Dean seems to be saving people or having a family. Like, he can't have both. And the Jin dream kind of showed that if he had a family, then all the people he saved would have died, you know. And then when he comes back from that, he says, like, well, what do I have to sacrifice? Ultimately, the answer is his family and himself for the people that he saved. So it's, I understand why he's disappointed here that Ben isn't his son, and like having a different kind of legacy, because Lisa and Ben are outside the life, you know, and they could have lived independently of that, which again is why he goes back. That's very true.
Well, and I mean, the thing is, at this point, you know, there's no retaliation for having a family, whereas later on, having a family like can lead them for them to be killed off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because it's a righteous choice or whether it's just like because I do feel like if they said that Ben was his, they would somehow manage to bring in like a demon to try and kill Dean, to get him to try and do something.
The thing is, in the big meta, I guess, Ben can't be his for, I want to say legal reasons, heavenly legal reasons. But also, okay, I'm talking myself out of this because I've always thought of like, it would be cool if Ben was Dean's kid. But like, just talking to you now, I'm like, actually, the show's about found family. So it's fine if he's not, and he can still be a parental figure to him, because that's what the show is ultimately about. And we see Dean be that to other kids in the show as well. Yeah, definitely. I think of Claire and I think of Jack, and Jack is a complicated issue for me, and Dean's relationship with him. And I feel like when we get to Jack, we'll definitely talk about that more in depth, because yikes. Yeah. But actually, do you know what? I've completely done a 180. Like, fine, Ben doesn't need to be Dean's kid.
I mean, in a way, Ben is his son. He's his found son.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
That's completely true. It is. Because that's the show. That's it, guys. I solved it. That's the show.
We solved the issue. Ben is not the son, but he is.
Yeah, exactly. He is his son. Just not biologically.
So, Lisa then offers for Dean to stay. You know, she's kind of come around to Dean. Probably, I mean, saving her son's life is gonna do that.
Yeah, exactly.
It proved that he was actually a good person, and that he actually cares for Ben and also like people in general, and he's not there just to like. I mean, I feel like when he first got there, he was just there to hook up, and then once he realized who she was and in the fact that she was a mother, that kind of changed.
Oh yeah.
Not just because like he would still gladly hook up with her, I think, had it not had this conversation, because it's not like she's a mother, ooh, it's more like she's a mother, wow, kind of thing.
Is it bad that I think it's kind of more like a little bit like, oh, she's a mother, so she maybe deserves a bit more respect from me, a little bit? Yeah, because Dean has some issues around motherhood, I feel.
This is true. This is some. Oh, that's funny. So she offers for him to stay, and he says,
I got a lot of work to do, and it's not my life.
It then cuts to Sam, and he's frantically researching everybody that Mary knew, but I'm like, how did he know who she knew?
Yeah, I mean, some of the names he throws out, I noted there were 2 Campbells, right? There was a Robert Campbell and an Ed Campbell. So maybe that's how he found some of the connections, and I guess through neighbours and stuff. Or
yeah, but the thing is, they've already mentioned a Robert Campbell, and he was alive at that point, because he was the person who erected the grave.
That's true, but how much? When did he die? Because it could have been a few months or whatever after Mary. It doesn't I don't know if they were killed before Mary or after, or like both sides of that. It doesn't really say here.
That's true. And so essentially what it boils down to is that everybody that Mary knew is dead.
Yeah.
And Ruby was correct that somebody had gone in and tried to wipe basically Mary's existence from history. And Ruby, so he says it out loud, and it turns out Ruby's in the room.
Yeah.
And of course, it's the yellow-eyed demon. He was the one. When in doubt, blame a demon. This scene with him like repeatedly asking her like, who is she?
So what's your deal? You show up wherever I am, you know all about me, you know all about my mom.
I already told you. I'm just...
Oh, right, yeah, just a hunter. Just some hunter who happens to know more about my own family than I do. Just tell me who you are.
Sam,
Just tell me who you are.
it doesn't matter.
Tell me who you are!
Fine.
I was like, this is another Sam that we recognize as well.
Definitely.
Giving no quarter. Like, we don't see that very often, but when you do, it's like, it's kind of intimidating.
Yeah. Sam can really switch on his like bad cop mode, and it is at times I think it's actually scarier than Dean's sometimes, because maybe because Sam is more restrained than Dean most of the time. So when you do kind of get those flashes of like when he's not kind of restraining himself, it's actually like, whoa, okay, it's an actually serious situation. Whereas Dean's always kind of heightened, right? So yeah.
I guess so. This for Sam is like Dean's violence. When we see Dean get violent at kind of almost inanimate objects, is we know when it's like really bad.
Yeah. Where
with Sam, it's like he's a quiet rage until he's a loud rage, and that's when it's like, oh no.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And so Ruby reveals herself to be a demon by flashing her demon eyes, and then turns around and asks Sam to trust her.
Yeah.
I'm like, in what world would that just work? Like straight away, just saying like, you can trust me. I'm like, no, he really can't. Okay, granted, you like saved him, but like that was it.
Yeah, it's going to take some convincing. Also, it really shows how overconfident Ruby is, because Sam knows how to exorcise demons. I'm surprised he didn't start like chanting Latin at her before going for the holy water, to be honest. Like I feel like at this point he could take her out. I know demons are fairly strong still at this point, but I feel like Sam is very much well equipped to, like, you know, at least slow her down.
Or like, he didn't even try to trap her.
Do you think he already trusts her a little because of what the information that she's already told him is correct?
Actually, sorry, to go back on what I just said, he only just found out that she was a demon.
Yeah.
So of course he wouldn't have been able to trap her. That's why he was going for the holy water. But you're right. I wonder if it's a bit of like, because Sam obviously likes knowledge and he likes to know things.
Yeah.
So he's really curious about this knife. So is it a little bit of like, I can't really trust her, but I want the information that she has?
Yeah. Dean is very like shoot first, ask questions later, but Sam is very much the opposite of that, in that he likes to know exactly what he's shooting before he does it. And I think oddly in this show, sometimes that's to his detriment. His asking questions sometimes lands them in trouble, where maybe they should have just taken action, which is an odd thing to show in a show, because normally they want to say like, well, you should be questioning and you should be, you know, making sure that things are correct before you do something. But often Sam does get punished for his curiosity. I think you're right. I think he wants to know what's going on. And also he has a demon here willing to engage with him. Maybe in the back of mind he is already thinking about crossroads deals, and I guess he probably does also want to know about, you know, Yellow Eyes. Why is he Yellow Eyes' favorite apart from being a hunter? It can't just be that, because Jake essentially has similar skills to Sam. So yeah, okay,
definitely. And also, you know, the there's been other things that she's also done, like told him that there's actually a case in the town, and seemingly giving clues / like real answers, because he does ask her why Yellow Eyes liked him so much, and she says, I genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
I have, for some reason in my mind, I'm like, she does know for certain.
Yeah.
So I'm again, I don't know if that's true, but I'm fairly certain she was lying to him at this point.
Yeah.
But because she appears genuine in the fact that she's sort of telling Sam everything she does know to a certain extent, because I think she also realizes that Sam wants answers, but he also wants to be able to find out answers.
Yeah.
Because if Ruby had told him exactly what happened to Mary and all her friends and family, he wouldn't have called her or wouldn't have continued to like have conversations with her.
I mean, maybe I'm just skewed in my like idea of Ruby because I kind of know what happens between them, but like she's drawing him into the mystery, right?
Yes.
And it's something that Sam can't say no to because it's his mystery. Like it surrounds his whole life. So yeah, he needs to get answers from her. Yeah, I think you're right on this. She explains that she wants to help him like find all these answers, and basically kind of confirms what we were saying in the last episode, that demons don't necessarily all have the same agenda. That she also wants to know because it's something, it's something that she doesn't necessarily understand, and that he is going to get something out of it other than knowledge because she's going to help him save Dean, which is like the bombshell of the episode.
That is enough for Sam. There was something about that like interaction that I don't know, it reminded me of Dean, but I don't remember, like, I mean, essentially he's just made his own demon deal.
Yes.
Without making a demon deal.
Because he's essentially trading his trust for and his own, like, I guess his safety, because he doesn't know at any point like Ruby could turn on him for Dean here. So it is a similar situation, I guess. I don't know. It is a demon deal. I think any dealings you have with demons in this show is in some way they are right. They are kind of like I was saying about fairies and changelings, and maybe this is why they're connected in this episode, is because often in folklore, if you make any deals with like the fae, ultimately they're going to twist that deal in some way to benefit them and to screw you over. I feel like demons are exactly the same in their deals. That, it's the monkey's paw situation. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah. Yeah, really interesting.
So yeah, that was this episode. I, like always, I've come to like the episode a little bit more after we talk about it. There's very few that I go in not liking it and then still not liking it after the fact. But this one, you've like talking it through has helped me with it. Who would have known?
That's why we're here.
This is what we do in this podcast.
That's true. I agree with you. I like this one. I think I've always liked this one. I like the creepy lamprey children. I like Dean realizing that he wants a family and he wants a life outside of hunting, and then not getting it. At this point, for him, that's a good character choice. It's not always a good character choice. Ultimately, very good. So, what have we got coming up next episode?
So, next week. So the reason why this, like, those facial features and everything got, like, for Sam at the beginning of this episode made me think of the I Lost My Shoe is because it's literally the next episode.
Yes! I'm well excited for this one. I love this episode so much. This is one of my favourite episodes just because it's so dumb.
It is so dumb. So the next episode is Bad Day at Black Rock. We get introduced to Bella, who honestly is probably one of the great female characters who gets
Lauren
wronged.
Cohen. Oh, Lauren Cohen. That's all I'm saying about that.
And do you know what's so crazy? We are almost a a quarter way through this season already.
It's gonna go quick. This is gonna be gone, like been and gone, like honestly. So enjoy it while you can with season 3.
Yeah, whew. But it's fun. I think this is one episode that I've sought out to watch multiple times.
Yes, same.
Just because it is so funny.
It's great. Oh, it's great.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, the bit I remember that is like, I'm Batman. Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh,
Okay.
Such a good. It's very quotable, this episode.
Yeah, extremely. Okay. So thanks again to our friend the Pixel Agora for our beautiful art. Please go and commission them and check out their stuff on Tumblr because it's super nice, really good stuff.
It is.
I hope you've seen. I've reblogged recently, a few weeks ago when we did their episode with us. So yeah, check out their art. And if you would like to be in contact with us to talk through episodes or have any comments or discussions you'd like to have, come reach out on social media. We're basically on everything at this point. So look for Escaping Purgatory podcast or just Escaping Purgatory on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc.
So, on our journey this week, we came across some fae and they tricked us in a mean way. Hopefully next week we'll have a bit more luck. See you next time.
I can't believe you said that.